filed by director Justin Baldoni against Hollywood power couple. Lively had initially filed a civil lawsuit against Baldoni, claiming that while working on the film It Ends With Us, Baldoni sexually harassed her.
Okay, so you've probably seen the headlines flying around. Blake Lively posted on Instagram, the internet collectively lost its mind, and suddenly everyone's a legal expert in the comments. But here's the thing. This story is so much messier, so much juicier, and honestly, so much more complicated than a single post can tell you. We are going deep today, from the first red flag on set, all the way to a federal judge dropping a legal bombshell. Buckle up, because this one does not disappoint. The backstory nobody talks about. All right, before we get to the Instagram post and the court drama, we need to go back, way back, because Blake Lively didn't just wake up one day and decide to sue her director. There's a whole history here that sets the stage for everything. For years, Lively has reportedly claimed that she was blacklisted from major acting roles. Not because of her talent, but because she refused what she describes as inappropriate advances from a, quote, powerful actor. She pushed back, and allegedly, her career paid the price for it. That's the backdrop. That's what she was dealing with before It Ends With Us ever came along. Now enter Justin Baldoni. You probably know him best as the ridiculously charming Raphael from Jane the Virgin. In 2024, Baldoni's production company, Wayfarer Studios, became attached to direct the film adaptation of Colleen Hoover's massively popular novel, It Ends With Us. And who did they cast as the lead? Blake Lively. Seems like a win-win, right? A big book, a big star, a passionate director. What could possibly go wrong? Oh, I'll tell you. Everything could go wrong. And it did. But here's the part that the headlines glossed over. The hiring itself was apparently shadier than we thought. So here's where things get interesting. According to Baldoni's production company, when they brought Blake on board, there was apparently a lengthy negotiation and a handshake agreement that her husband, Ryan Reynolds, would not interfere with the production. I think we need to let that stew for a second. They were so worried about Ryan Reynolds showing up to the set with notes that they made it a point to address it during contract talks. Someone make it make sense. But Blake's lawsuit tells a very different version of events. She alleges that the offer Baldoni extended to her came with a condition, a pretty wild one. According to her legal filing, she claims the job was contingent on her dropping a separate, high-profile sexual harassment case she was pursuing at the time. She refused. She said no. And she took the role anyway. Or at least, that's how her side tells it. Now, Baldoni's team disputes all of this. They say she was a willing participant, a collaborator, and that the real issue is that she later tried to control the entire project, the script, the promotion, the narrative. They claim she even tried to use the harassment angle to negotiate higher fees and more creative control. So right from the jump, before a single camera rolled, you've got two completely contradictory stories. And both sides have lawyers. Very expensive lawyers, I might add. But wait, the movie comes out, it makes money, and then everything goes absolutely sideways. What happened between action and the lawsuit filing? The lawsuit that shook the internet. Okay, so fast forward to late 2025. Blake Lively files a high-profile lawsuit against Justin Baldoni. And it is not a small claim situation. She accused him of sexual harassment, defamation, and, going back to that pattern we talked about, blacklisting. Her legal team alleged that after she pushed back on his behavior, Baldoni and his PR team launched a coordinated smear campaign designed to destroy her reputation and tank her career. And the second that lawsuit dropped, the internet did what it always does. It picked sides in about 12 seconds. Twitter was a war zone. TikTok lawyers were suddenly everywhere. confidently explaining legal concepts they had clearly just Googled. Gossip accounts were reposting every detail faster than news outlets could even publish their articles. It was chaos. Beautiful, dramatic, completely unhinged chaos. And people were absolutely glued to it. Like, she's not saying he was just rude. She's saying there was an organized effort, with receipts, reportedly, to plant negative stories, manipulate the press cycle around the "it ends with us" promotion, and essentially make her look like the problem, the difficult actress, the diva. Sound familiar? Because it's a very old Hollywood playbook, and a lot of people, especially women who've been on the receiving end of it, immediately recognized what she was describing. And let's talk about that playbook for a second, because Hollywood has this very specific way of dealing with women who push back. They don't fire you outright. That's too obvious, too easy to call out. Instead, suddenly you're difficult. Suddenly the scripts stop coming. Suddenly directors who were enthusiastic about working with you go mysteriously quiet. You don't get blacklisted with a memo. You just stop getting the calls. And because it's all so vague and deniable, it's almost impossible to prove. Jennifer Aniston talked about it. Megan Fox talked about it. Countless women have described versions of the same pattern. Blake Lively, alleging it fits into a much longer, much uglier story about how power operates in that industry. Baldoni did not take this sitting down. He countersued. His legal team fired back, claiming that Lively breached her contract by refusing to attend promotional events for the film. They also alleged she didn't follow the agreed-upon script approval process and that she used the harassment narrative strategically to extract more money and more power over the project. Both sides are calling each other liars. Both sides have mountains of documentation, and the internet naturally picked a team immediately. And then, and this is where it truly becomes reality TV, private text messages got leaked. And girl, the things Blake Lively said about Justin Baldoni in those texts? Oh, we're talking about it. The receipts start talking. January 2026. Court documents get released, and inside them, private text messages sent by Blake Lively. And listen, nobody looks totally cool when their private messages get leaked into a federal lawsuit. But some of these are particularly vivid. In the messages, Lively privately called Baldoni a clown. She also reportedly called him a rabid pig. She described him as someone who was smearing her. Now read those words back. Not in a press release, not in a legal filing, in a private text. That's the version of Blake Lively that the world doesn't usually get to see. Not the polished lifestyle brand, not the red carpet moment, not the witty Instagram caption. This is the version that's exhausted, furious, and completely done with a situation she clearly feels she has no control over. And here's the thing. We have all sent a text we would absolutely not want read aloud in court. The difference is, most of us are not celebrities in a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. Most of us don't have opposing legal teams whose entire job is to find every word we've ever typed and use it to paint us in the worst possible light. When your private venting becomes Exhibit A in a federal case, the context gets stripped out completely. You're not a person blowing off steam anymore. You're a villain in a narrative someone else is constructing. That's exactly what happened here. Her supporters immediately said, "Look, these are private messages from someone who felt harassed and victimized." Of course, she was venting. Of course, her language was heated. That doesn't make her the villain. And honestly, that's a fair point. Private frustration doesn't invalidate public allegations. If anything, the rawness of those messages is exactly what you'd expect from someone who genuinely feels targeted and powerless. But Baldoni's side? They waved those texts around like a victory flag. To them, It showed that this wasn't just a straightforward harassment case. It was personal, it was a power struggle, and Lively had a specific agenda against their client. And the framing worked on a significant chunk of the audience. Because tone is everything when messages go public. Clown reads differently than I feel unsafe. Rabid pig reads differently than I'm scared. And whether that reframing is fair or not, and a lot of people argue it absolutely isn't, it shifted the conversation. The texts went viral almost instantly. Team Blake and Team Baldoni were both posting clips, both spinning the narrative, and suddenly, the whole thing started to feel less like a serious legal matter and more like the messiest celebrity feud since, honestly, it might be the messiest one in years. And then came April 2026. A federal judge stepped in, and the ruling? It wasn't what either side, or the internet, was expecting. The judge's bombshell ruling. Everyone was waiting for this one. Legal analysts were speculating. Fan accounts were posting countdown graphics. Both sides' PR machines were clearly prepping their responses. And then, the ruling drops. April 1st and 2nd, 2026. A federal judge reviewed Blake Lively's lawsuit and issued a decision that sent shockwaves through both camps. Out of Lively's 13 claims, 10 were dismissed. 10. That includes all of her harassment counts. That includes her defamation claims. The judge ruled that many of the allegations were either too vague to be legally actionable or simply didn't meet the legal threshold required to go to trial. Now, the internet's immediate reaction was predictable. Baldoni's camp was triumphant. Some corners of Blake's fan base went into full crisis mode. And about 1,000 people who are not lawyers confidently explained what this meant with the kind of authority usually reserved for people who have actually passed the bar. But here's what actually matters. A dismissal does not mean the judge said Blake was lying. This is the part that keeps getting lost in the noise. It means the claims, as filed, didn't hold up under the specific legal standards required for them to proceed. There's a meaningful difference between "this didn't happen" and "this wasn't argued in a way the law can address." Courts are technical, procedural machines. They are not moral arbiters. They don't exist to tell you who the good person is. They exist to evaluate whether specific legal standards have been met. And 10 of Blake's claims, for whatever reason, vagueness, insufficient evidence as presented, legal technicalities, did not clear that bar. 10 claims dismissed is not a slap on the wrist. That's a legal gut punch, no question. But at the same time, those 3 surviving claims? That's the part people underestimated. 3 retaliation claims were allowed to proceed, meaning a jury will still potentially hear evidence, real, presented in court evidence, that Baldoni attempted to damage Blake Lively's career and reputation in response to her prior legal actions. That is not nothing. That is actually a really significant thing to still have on the table going into trial. A trial is still scheduled for May 2026. This is not over. Not even close. So with most of her claims dismissed, but the fight far from finished, what did Blake Lively actually do next? Because she didn't stay quiet. And her response said a lot. Image versus reality. April 3rd and 4th, 2026. Blake Lively posts on Instagram, and right on cue, the internet goes into full analysis mode. Every sentence, every word choice dissected like it's evidence in a courtroom. In her statement, she calls the entire situation unfathomably painful, acknowledges that most of her claims were dismissed, and makes it clear she's not going anywhere. The 3 remaining claims? She's taking them straight to trial. No hesitation. But what really caught people off guard wasn't the legal update. It was the tone. She tells fans not to get caught up in what she calls a digital soap opera, warning against online harassment on either side. Basically, yes, this is messy, but don't turn it into a public pile-on. And honestly, that's a very controlled response for someone who just took a major legal hit. No emotional spiral, no tell-all interview tour, just calm, deliberate messaging. Of course, the internet immediately split into camps. Some saw it as genuine, others saw it as textbook PR cleanup. Either way, it worked. The conversation reset, and suddenly everyone was locked back in. But here's where it gets uncomfortable, because this situation isn't just about legal claims anymore. It's about image. Lively has spent years building a brand that feels effortless and aspirational fashion. Lifestyle, the picture-perfect marriage. She's designed to be someone you root for. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni built his identity as the good guy, the thoughtful, emotionally aware, anti-toxic masculinity figure. The kind of man who gives TED Talks about vulnerability and gets praised for it. And now those two carefully crafted images are clashing in real time. Because once lawsuits are filed and private behavior gets scrutinized, branding can only carry you so far. Lively suddenly feels more human, less untouchable, not always polished. Baldoni's nice guy image, now being questioned in ways that no amount of past messaging can fully shield. At this point, it's not even about who wins in court. It's about who survives this with their reputation intact. And the honest answer? Probably neither of them walks away completely clean. The verdict before the verdict. Here's the part nobody really wants to admit. Most people made up their minds about this story a long time ago. When the judge dismissed 10 of Lively's claims, reactions split instantly. Some supporters went quiet or started hedging. Others doubled down, insisting it was just a technical legal outcome. On the flip side, Baldoni's supporters treated it like confirmation of everything they believed from the start. And that's the disconnect legal truth and public opinion rarely move together. A judge can rule one way, a jury can decide another, and millions of people will still stick to whatever version of the story they've already accepted. Because people don't follow cases like this as legal analysts. They follow them like reality TV. They pick a side, invest emotionally, and defend that side like it's personal. And in a lot of ways, it is personal. This story hits because it feels familiar. People see their own experiences in it: workplace tension, power dynamics, the fear of being dismissed or misrepresented. Some relate to speaking up and being labeled difficult. Others relate to being publicly accused and feeling like the narrative has already been decided without them. That's why this case has taken on a life of its own. It's not just about two public figures. It's about dynamics people deal with every day, just without the spotlight or the legal teams. So now we're in this strange place where the biggest claims are gone legally speaking, but the story feels more alive than ever. And that's because the 3 remaining retaliation claims still matter. If a jury decides that Baldoni or anyone tied to him actively tried to damage Lively's career in response to her actions, that's not small. That's a statement about power and accountability that goes far beyond this one case. And the possible outcomes? None of them are clean. If Lively wins even partially, that carries weight. If Baldoni wins outright, that sends a completely different message. And if this settles before trial, then we never get the full story, just carefully crafted statements and years of speculation. Either way, someone's reputation is taking a hit, probably both. The May trial is where everything shifts. Because once people are under oath, once there's cross-examination, once evidence is laid out in full, that's when narratives change. That's when details come out that no PR strategy can fully control. And if you think it's messy now, you just wait. Wait until people are actually sitting in that courtroom. Wait until there are witnesses. Wait until there is cross-examination. That is when things get really interesting. So that's where we are. Blake Lively has broken her silence. 10 claims are gone, 3 are very much still alive, and the May trial is coming up fast. Whatever you think about the people involved, and I know opinions are strong on this one, the legal battle ahead is going to keep this story in the headlines for a while yet. And let's be real for a second. This is the kind of case that doesn't just end when the verdict is read. Even after the court date, even after whatever decision gets handed down, the debate is going to keep going. People are going to keep picking apart every detail, every testimony, every headline that comes out of that courtroom. Because at this point, it's bigger than just Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. It's about who gets believed, how power gets used, and what accountability actually looks like when the spotlight is this bright. And something tells me, no matter how this ends, not everyone is going to be satisfied with the answer. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think the 3 surviving retaliation claims are enough to make a real difference at trial? Do you think Blake's Instagram statement was genuine? And honestly, whose side are you on? And has anything we covered today changed your mind even a little? Drop it all in the comments. I genuinely read them. And this is one of those topics where the comment section is as entertaining as the video. Let's be real. If you're new here, and you somehow stumbled onto this video, first of all, welcome. You have excellent taste. Hit that subscribe button because we cover all the big culture moments, the legal drama, the celebrity chaos, and we do it without the fluff. And if you know someone who's been following this story and doesn't have all the context yet, share this video with them. They'll thank you. Probably.